All right, I have a topic. And this is one of these things where like the universe has come together. It's conspired for this moment because we have the expert in talking to your customers on the show. Okay. I'm not really a big talk to your customers kind of person, if you can imagine that. Not that I'm like against talking to my customers, but I'm not really one to like be like, oh, let me like interview some customers and see what they're up to necessarily. Now, Matt Stauffer, friend of the show, friend of all of ours, invited me to come check out their podcast production flow. So for outro, so I could see what was going on.
Oh.
So the end of last week, we had this call with Matt and his assistant Kayla, and they took me through their whole production thing, and it was unbelievable. I like got so many insights. It was fantastic, and I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't even ask any questions really, but like, so I did it all wrong, but still, it was great. So I don't know. I feel like this could kick us off into some of your expertise here, Michelle. But like, I was just doing a single one of these where I was just like, "Hey, show me what you're doing," and it like radically is going to change some of the things I do with outro. So it's good at
I w-
Laravel Nude, by the way, but also continue.
I want to hear what you learned. Like, what did
Yeah.
you like? What did you? We can talk about how you did the interview so poorly in a second. But what did you learn? What did you learn from talking to your customers?
So I think what was interesting is one thing was that outros are already going to be sort of Trello like because I feel like
Okay.
that's a good model for like having multiple episodes and moving things between them and stuff like that. So that was kind of my thinking. But I didn't go all the way with it, I would say, in my V1 version. And V2 is going to go much farther, I think, because I saw how they're using it and they're doing, I mean, it's crazy. They're very organized with everything. They have potential guests, book guests, all the shows out into the future, but they're moving stuff between them. They have like 60 checklist items for every show down to like every tweet, every edit, every little step of the whole process is super, super planned. So I think to me, the main thing was like outro I already conceive of as more of a show for or more, well, I don't know. We've talked about this before. I'm a little waffly here, but I think it needs to be able to accommodate a highly structured show. And so this was a nice insight into a highly structured show that's really dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's in a very structured manner. And
Mm-hmm.
so really getting to see all that, I was like, okay, like even things like the to-dos, for example, here's a very specific thing. I had envisioned the to-dos as more like kind of around the episode, but not like part of the episode. But I think
Okay.
I'm going to change that to where it's like, this is a single view of the episode. There's like to-dos, there's segments, there's more
Mm,
to-dos after. And then like when you're actually recording, there'd be a way to like hide all those to-dos because you don't necessarily want them while you're recording, but it's like you have the full picture right there. When you're done recording, you still see the show, but now it's like just the to-dos that remain undone, right? But it's still on your board. So it's like on the left, you'll have like recorded but not done,
mm-hmm.
not finished in production, upcoming, and then planned kind of all right there. So some of these things kind of existed in outro already, but it was really seeing them, especially I think around the to-dos. And if you're working with a producer or other team members and things like that, that's kind of the really big takeaway. But also just the letting it wash over me part of like seeing it in use in this way was fascinating. And also I think some of the guest features, that was the other main area. I hadn't really considered so much the like CRM aspect of potential guests.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like, so they're doing like just guest shows, right? Like their shows are just guests. They're not like shooting the shit. They're just every show's a guest. So they have like a huge list of like potential guests and things like that, and notes about when they emailed them or contacted them and all that stuff. So like, so having some of that stuff in there be a little more fleshed out than I was probably thinking it to be initially. If you're running an interview type show, which I think is a really good use case for outro, having that be all integrated so you don't need another tool or whatever, blah, blah. Yeah. So those are kind of the big takeaways, but it was also just a cool thing to see and really absorb. So
I'm really excited for
Michelle?
you. I think especially for like, I find that like developers who like, oh, why would I like talk to my customers? Like, why would I do like this interviewing thing? Like, is waste of
yeah.
time. Like, I don't know. I don't have time for that. Right. And then actually getting to see somebody use the product, either the product that they work on or something, that their product would replace, like you did.
Mm-hmm.
That is such a like light bulb moment for people. to be able to see like, oh my God, like this is what you're doing right now, whether that's your own
Yeah.
product or watching them do something else. And I think especially like developers like want to solve things, want to make things better for people. And like, I really hope you find somebody who's managing the whole thing in spreadsheets, because that would, you would be
Yes.
so excited. Like,
Yeah.
be like, oh, this is horrifying, right? And that's going to be
Right.
so inspiring for you. But like, even if it's people who are working on a product that already exists, like, I mean, there is nothing that unites a team like buddy sitting in a room watching a user just try to find the login button for their product, and everyone's like, no, 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 no,
It's
like,
over
and
there.
you
Yeah.
want to get the mouse like over into the top right hand corner, and they're just like going everywhere else, and they're back in their inbox. And you're like, no, 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 you were on the page. No, you were so close. Like it's like you really have to like I think seeing the struggle, and then I think that kind of paves the way for like digging into it more and like understanding the overall process, understanding like the different pieces that they're doing, and understanding the struggle, which is sometimes expressed directly of like, we find it a real pain to manage guests, or it's implicit and they're like, well, we've got this here, we've got Trello for managing the episodes, but then we've got this spreadsheet over here of the potential guests, but then we also like this person over
Yep.
here is emailing them, and then like we're also DMing them sometimes, and it's like, well, that struggle there, right? There's like a lot of different tools and nothing is really solving it, right? And so I'm super excited for you that you had the moment when you're like, oh, this is actually useful and exciting. I have two questions. Well, I'm gonna
Yeah.
have more. But okay, what was something that surprised you?
Yeah, so I definitely want to talk about this. So, a big, like, kind of one of the best parts about it was just even that they're using Trello to do this, right? And I expected that. I know Trello is a big tool. People used to do this. But when I saw like the sophistication level of it, I was surprised by like, I mean, they're really digging in there to like all the features that Trello has, right? And so then that was making me think like, okay, that kind of reinforced my belief in Outro a bit, because it's like, yes, you can do this with Trello. If you go crazy deep on Trello, right, and you become a Trello expert, you could do a lot of what Outro will do. But it's like, that's not like the average person. Like Matt's a professional software developer, right? And like Kayla's super organized, and like they've built this system over years, right? So like if we can get people to like the years of organization on the first day, instead of having to invent the system that gets you to that level of organization completely on your own, that seems like something people will be like, oh, now all this stuff, I didn't even know what I was going to do with it, or things I've dropped the ball on in the past because I didn't have a check sheet for it, or I did, but it was in a different spot from the show, and blah, blah, blah. Like, that, I don't know. I thought that was kind of like a thing that surprised me, was seeing how sophisticated it was. And but also, yeah, I don't know, there's just a lot there in that part of it, of like a tool dedicated to this could give you all this, but it would be simpler, and it would be able to guide you through it as somebody who hasn't spent 2 years building this process, right? So yeah, all right.
This is
Yeah.
good. This is
Yeah.
big.
Well, okay, so
it's so funny.
this was
worked
like
out this
pretty
way.
exciting, but like, why you said that you
Mm.
feel like you probably did it wrong?
Well, I'm saying I didn't use any formal techniques. I just showed up on the Zoom and they walked me through it, right? So that was kind of in that regard.
Yeah,
don't
but
know
I
if
think
I
if you
got-
got these insights out of it, you walked out
Yes.
of it like inspired and
Absolutely.
ready to march over to Claude and tell him what to do.
That's right.
I think you did it right if you had this experience of it,
Yeah.
right? Like you got the essence of the experience. Actually, that reminds me of something I was thinking about this morning, and wanted to find time to write a blog post about and didn't have time.
Never happened.
Like, so you've been talking about how you've been like mostly vibe coding this, right?
Mhm.
And I think there's a lot of people who come from the customer research world, the product world, the design world, who feel, who feel kind of like threatened by like LLMs, and that people are gonna, interview an LLM rather than going to talk to a user. And like, I mean, there's companies that are like designed around this, but like even like the guy who like runs one of those companies has already said like, this will not replace talking to humans. But I was thinking, I was like, you know what? I think I actually have like a contrary take on this to most of my community, which is actually, I think that with vibe coding, the need for customer research and customer interviews only becomes greater, right? When the cost of building something like goes from months of like development time to like, you just, you make the specs with Claude, right? And then it just
Let
runs
it
with
go.
it.
Yeah.
Right. You do the full Microsoft giant spec thing, right? As you said,
Right.
like, and then
Yep.
and then you just let it go, right? Well, if you can have it build anything, what it's building in the first place is all the more important, because
Super
it doesn't
important.
matter
Yeah.
how many projects you whip up and throw at the wall if you're not building something that people actually need, that's based on understanding their real human, often weird and quirky and nonsensical workflows, and like why they have these problems in the first place. And so I think like, if you want to be able to, like, now that people can like vibe code stuff, I think that's all the more important that you're doing customer research and you're talking to people to understand what they need, because there's no point in spending all of this time building things up if nobody's ever going to buy them. And the only way to figure that out still is understanding people.
Yeah. And I mean, there's that angle on it, and also the angle of like you need to build something that's going to stand out. Right now, there's even going to be even more competition, right? Because there's just going to be hundreds of competitors in every single field, because people are going to whip stuff together in a week or a month or 6 months, even, right? It's still going to be faster and more than it used to be, and so then it just makes it more economical to go after different markets and things like that. So, yeah, what's going to be your competitive advantage, and how do you obtain that? And being willing to talk to people when other people don't like to talk to people, like me.
You love talking to people, though. Don't tell me that you don't like talking to people. Ian.
I
Come
do
on.
like talking to people. I don't know. It's weird. It's like standard dev stuff, right? I'd rather be building the thing than thinking about what I should be building. Do you know what I mean?
But you got to
think
think
that's the
about what
standard.
you should be building. Otherwise, you might build something that nobody's ever going to use, right?
I know. That's most of the stuff I built, to be honest, right? I've
Sounds-
got one good one. I got one that people wanted to use, and then 1.5. I got 1.5 that people wanted to use, and the rest, not so much. But that's all right. But yes, that's why I should be talking to people. That's why it was great to do this, and I want to do several more before I get into post Laravel new, but before coding. I want to do a couple more of these. So actually, if you're out there and listening and you want to show me your production workflow for podcast, hit me up.